Welcome to the next presentation of KCS College Prep. Today we'll mostly be going over how to navigate different college websites, and we'll go over a little bit about standardized testing as well. Learning how to navigate a college-specific website may seem minuscule in the grand scheme of things, but this simple method allows students to learn about a specific school on a much more individualized level. I found that it helped me a lot during my college prep process, and it's a lot more reliable than secondhand sources that may be overviewing a couple of different colleges at a time. You really get a more personalized experience when you're searching on their different websites. So with that being said, each website is definitely going to look a little bit different, but they usually are all fundamentally the same. So this general outline usually includes things like an about page, quick facts, academics, admission, student life, sometimes athletics, general campus information, and definitely financial aid as well. So with all that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and click on a website of one of the schools I applied to, Gonzaga University. So I can just give you an example and sort of walk you through what the website looks like in terms of these different tabs that I just talked about. So as you can see, like I just said, you have the about, you have academics, admission, student life, and athletics. If you scroll down, you'll usually see like news and just different specific school announcements. You'll also usually see some statistics. So if I just go ahead and scroll down here, you can see at a glance, this particular school has an 11-to-1 faculty ratio, 86% graduation rate, and so on. So if I go ahead and click on the General About tab, it'll lead me to even more tabs. Now, I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'll go through the ones that really stick out to me and have helped me the most. So first, let's go on our campus and location. So as you can see, it's just sort of like a rundown of the campus. It's located in Spokane, Washington. Usually gives some ratings and some facts on the city. Colleges show pride in where they're located, so they usually tend to talk a lot about the city that they are located in. As you can see, it talks about the population. And obviously, this isn't the same for each school. Every website's going to be set up a little bit different, and some may not include all of these resources. But as you can see in this particular website, it gives a virtual tour, which most schools will have. It gives you like campus maps and directions, and all that other campus-related information. You might remember, but campus life is something that we've talked about in a couple of previous presentations, and that is brought up yet again because it is an important part in your decision making and choosing a school that's right for you. Now that I'm back on the General About tab, I'll just go ahead and quickly touch on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion tab. This is also an important topic that schools take pride in. Obviously, some schools are more diverse than others, but this is where you can find information regarding that. I personally enjoy just looking at the simple statistics they provided regarding diversity just because I'm a visual person and I like to see the numbers. So it turns out there's 38 faiths represented on campus, there's a 50% female faculty, so all those things stood out to me. The mission and values tab is always an important one as well, just because you want to see if you are able to relate to them or agree with them in a way that helps you potentially see if you'd be able to fit into their campus. So after going on that tab, I just went ahead and went to the mission statement, scroll down, and obviously it's a little long, but usually this tab also provides faith information and such. And then just jumping ahead to the offices and services tab, you can see all of the different services that they provide. Obviously, when you are attending a college, you want to feel very well supported. And with this being said, this tab provides sort of a rundown of these different services. So now that we've touched on a couple of these tabs, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the academics tab. We're going to mostly look at the undergraduate programs, as a lot of these aren't very relevant yet. But when doing your individual searching, I definitely recommend running through all the tabs, because it's very interesting to see the whole range of academics a university provides. So I'm going to click on the undergraduate programs now. This particular tab is pretty cool, at least for this school, just because it even gives you definitions of majors, minors, concentrations, university core, which is basically just like a core curriculum that a specific school requires you to take. And it's pretty simple. You can go ahead and just scroll down. It's in alphabetical order and just look at the different degrees. You can click on one to get a more in-depth description. And in this description, you can see the major mission statement, as well as involvement opportunities within this major. There's major-specific scholarships. You can see a curriculum overview for this major. And one more thing I want to point out as far as academics go, is the honors program. Some schools have separate applications for you to be considered for the honors program, and some schools automatically consider you. Generally speaking, honors programs are meant for high-achieving and especially motivated students who have access to smaller class sizes that are more discussion-based, as well as some special perks and benefits. So moving right ahead to admission, I'll again mostly focus on the undergraduate portion. And if you scroll down for this particular college, you can see some of the same information we already went over. But what I really want to point out is finding this admission requirements tab. Looking at each school's admission requirements was very helpful to me as I was really worried about missing something, as some schools require some things, whereas others don't. So it's important that you don't miss these things. Right off the bat, it says that this university is test optional. It gives you some recommended coursework. It gives a list of the main factors that the Office of Admission takes into account. So if I just go over to the right and click how to apply, this is also very important, especially for people who are new to the process and are just looking to apply. So I'd scroll down to the first year student because all of you guys will be first year students. And if you just go ahead and scroll down, you'll see that the school provides an application checklist, as many do. It may look a little daunting, but it's actually pretty simplified. It just gives you a rundown of basically just how to apply. And again, these checklists were very helpful for me just because I wanted to make sure I was clear on which school required which things and when these things were due. Moving ahead to the Student Life tab, this particular tab has tabs that have already been shown before, so we'll just go ahead and click on, again, the most prevalent ones, especially during the beginning of your college search, which are the community engagement and service. Basically, this tab gives a rundown of anything the school does community-wise and the different opportunities they provide to get involved. Similarly, if you go on the Student Groups and Activities tab, this is less service-oriented and has more to do with extracurriculars and social aspects. So as you can see, here's a list of tons of opportunities. Oftentimes, if a school puts enough emphasis on their service, activities, and extracurriculars, things like that, they'll generally have a whole department dedicated to this. So for example, this university, they call it the Student Involvement and Leadership Department. So obviously, all of these tabs are important as well, but some of them, for example, like orientation, won't necessarily be as useful for you until you get closer to committing to a school. So I know this was a pretty quick tour, but I hope this little rundown gave you some helpful insight and allowed you to better understand how these college websites operate. So we're just going to quickly switch gears and talk a little bit more about standardized testing. So I was never a good standardized test taker, and with this being said, I'm not the best resource to provide you with test taking tips, but what I can do is provide you with information regarding test optional policies and educate you just a little bit more on the topic so that you can make a better informed decision when it comes to apply to colleges yourself. For years, standardized test scores have been some of the largest factors considered in the admissions process, but many schools have adapted to a test optional policy. This is because colleges have a lack of confidence in the SAT's and ACT's ability to predict college success. Schools have a desire to improve campus diversity as well and want to be able to include students who may just not be the best test takers. And there are ultimately better predictors of success. Obviously, going test optional isn't always the right decision or even possible, but I just want to stress that you shouldn't let these test scores hold you back. When there's an absence of test scores, usually schools will look more heavily into your grades, extracurriculars, and things like that. So you have to make sure to reflect, like I've said in the past, on what you've done throughout high school and if you are satisfied with it. And with that, I'll go ahead and end this presentation now. I hope you guys were able to gain something from this video, and I look forward to the next one.